Baby. All right, we're live, everybody. We are live on 3 platforms: Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. So glad to be with you today. Hope everything's going well. Hope everybody has had enough candy the last 24 hours. That's great to hear. I know people are joining in that outside world known as the rest of TikTok and YouTube. Again, we're live on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. I have channels on all those. Mahomes or Love? Ask Van Prihota. Let me just look up and see if there's any changes in Love. I only asked that because I know that he was questionable. So let me see. NFL Network does appear that Jordan Love is tracking to play. So it looks like Love will play. And they play Detroit. Mahomes plays Minnesota. Now, both have been a little inconsistent, Van Prihota. With their points. And Mahomes really, up until this past week, hey, Nathaniel, how are you? We're on TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. And you know that Mahomes has not been putting up sort of Mahomes-like fantasy numbers. So that's been somewhat of an issue this fantasy season. He put up 19.8 last week, and that's probably a good number for a quarterback, but before that, not so much. Now, quite honestly, Love has 16, 26, 18, and 6.74 against Jacksonville, but I believe he got hurt during the game. So anyway, that is, the 16, 26, 18, he's got the groin injury. That is a little bit worrisome. And the fact that they played Detroit, who has a pretty good defense, but let me look specifically at their pass defense. That'll help me out as far as, let's see. The Lions pass defense is not great. It's number 27. And Mahomes plays Tampa Bay, and their pass defense is 29. So they're virtually tied. Okay, Van Prihota. And so the way I look at it is this. I would say that I would actually lean a little bit towards Mahomes. I think with Tampa Bay, obviously they're going to throw. They're a very efficient offense. And I believe that they'll be, their defense is what really wins them games. So I think their defense will be keeping Tampa Bay off the field like they do with so many other opponents. And that will probably, help their offense. So I'm leaning towards Patrick Mahomes because at least, when he has a bad week, it's 14 points. You can't say that with Love. And I'm a little afraid that possibly Love will, with a groin injury, the Lions' overall defense is 20. The Chiefs' overall defense is 5. Or I should say the Buccaneers. I got to find the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are 30. So I think Patrick Mahomes actually has a better matchup. And that's why I would take him. Love doesn't put up a lot of points, although he's hit 20 2 or 3 times or over 20 this year. And I think that really helps him in many ways. So, but I do think Mahomes has a better matchup in last week since he got to 19.8, almost 20. And in a 10-team league, which most of you are in, who are out there, it's advisable to be, at 19 or higher. So I would play Mahomes. I think he's a little bit more of a steady bet. Now, you could gamble and put Love in because he has gone over 20 a few times this year, if you want to go that way. But I would go with Mahomes this week based on the matchups for both teams. All right. It looks like Nathaniel says, I forgot to make that Diggs update, and now I'm screwed. So basically, you left the player in who didn't play. So I understand. Aiden on TikTok, Jacoby Myers or Coleman or D-Hop or Amari Cooper or Deontay start one. Well, right off the bat, I mean, Amari Cooper sort of went up and down. The one thing about Deontay Johnson is with Baltimore, he's not replacing anybody. Nobody's been hurt. Nobody's been traded. He's just, in essence, really, and not to sound too harsh, he's taking away catches from Bateman, Flowers, likely Andrews, the tight ends, and things like that. So I don't really see his numbers as jumping up. Now, Jacoby Myers, they have Vegas plays Cincinnati, and you know you can throw on them. The only thing why I don't say, oh, they have Minshew back at quarterback, and he's not much. They don't have a great quarterback. They don't have a great offense, and so that scares me. Now, Amari Cooper put up pretty good numbers 2 weeks ago, but last week did not. D. Hopkins really never got off the, really did much of anything. So I don't have any information that, I have no analysis to go by to say, oh, this is the week for D. Hopkins. It could be. They go against Tampa Bay. You can throw against Tampa Bay, but is that the way to go? I can't make that for certain, okay? What I will say is I do like Keon Coleman because of what he's done over, especially the last 2 weeks. I think he's had 14 and 15 points over the last 2 weeks. And let's face it, that's because of Amari Cooper, really. He's had 14 and 15 points. Now let's look up Cooper. I'll look up Cooper real quick. And I can't remember the number he had at the end. Yeah, he had 0.8. 2 weeks ago, he had 14.6. Let me just see if Amari Cooper is questionable, but let me see if it says anything. It's possible the team puts him on snap count. Both Keon Coleman would benefit in this scenario. Cooper practiced in limited capacity all week. His continued availability is a good sign, but somebody spelled that wrong, or the grammar is bad. To monitor. If Cooper is active, it's possible the team puts him on snap counts, which means Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir benefit from that. So I would say at this point that, Keon Coleman would be my pick out of all of them for the obvious reasons that I stated. Amari Cooper really hasn't done anything. Keon Coleman has. And part of that is because Amari Cooper is with Buffalo now. So that's just something to watch for from that standpoint. All right, let's see what else. All right. Aiden, Eduardo joined. Eduardo, Zay, Bucky, Dubs, Flex. Zay Flowers. Now, Bucky Irving is questionable. I don't know if you can see sort of below me there, or if you're on YouTube above me, actually. He's questionable, but let me look that up and see if anything was new. I posted that a few hours ago, maybe 5 hours ago, and I'm just seeing if there's anything. He's still questionable as of right now. He did not participate in Friday's practice. Okay. It looks like they're kind of hinting that this might give Tucker, one of their 3 running backs, a little bit more playing time if he doesn't play. And they do play Monday night, so there's a good chance Bucky probably, I think they practice tomorrow because they're all off a little bit. And so I think that might be the reason that they're doing that. All right, let's see here. So I would say if Bucky plays, it's a solid pick. Okay. Now, Dobbs, I don't think has been quite as consistent. And if Love plays, I mean, Dobbs is not bad. He's not a bad pick. And then Orange 403, I'll get you on YouTube after this. Dobbs only had 8.7 points, but he had 13 and 18 before that. They go against Detroit, so it's going to be a more difficult matchup. It's that interdivisional. Sometimes, like the Raiders beat the Chiefs kind of thing, so that interdivisional sometimes can bite you in the rear end, which you really don't want. So I don't foresee Dobbs maybe having a big game. I know you can throw on Detroit. I did say, the Lions' overall defense is 20th. Their pass defense is 27th, so they're not really good that way. But there's so many targets in Green Bay. That's the thing that worries me. Like Jayden Reed isn't getting the points that he usually gets based on that. He's Dobbs has been getting them. Wicks has been getting them. The tight end Kraft has been getting them. So it's really been a mishmash of that. He hasn't been getting as many. All of them haven't been getting as many points. I do think Bucky would be a little bit more of a steady pick. Let's see. And then your last guy was Zay Flowers. And the issue I have with anybody on Baltimore, any receivers, even the tight ends, is now he had 15 points last week, and that could be. Wait, they didn't have Deontay Johnson then, right? So now with Deontay Johnson, he's going to take away some points. That's my fear, is the unknown there, that Deontay Johnson will take away some of Zay Flowers' points. So if Bucky Irving goes, I think he's the safest choice. I would say, though, that I think Zay Flowers would be a good, if he doesn't play, you could put in Zay Flowers, or if you want to go with Zay Flowers, you can definitely do that without any problems. All right. Surtain scares me like Dobbs, but Flowers has been playing good when healthy. Yes, I do think Flowers has, but I don't think the addition of Deontay helps the receiving core over at Baltimore. All right. Orange. Who should I play last two flexes in a full PPR must win? Worthy, Waddle, Ridley, Rico, or Stevenson? Everybody gives me like 17 choices. I'm always amazed how, at this point, no one whittles that down a little bit. Is Worthy really, if you play Worthy, do you really feel good about Worthy? I wouldn't. I'm just saying, I don't think he's consistent. I think he can put up the points, but I think with D Hopkins, he's not going to. Kelsey had way more points last week. I don't know if they're going to continue that because they've had pieces of that throughout, but it's never been the case through and through. Okay. So I would say, let me look up Ridley real quick. I looked him up earlier. Ridley has, let's see, 17 points last week, but he's only good if Mason Rudolph is, I believe, geez Louise, what's going on with my eyes tonight? Ridley, shoulder Friday, Ridley, highest projection. Yeah, I think isn't it with Mason Rudolph as the quarterback? All of a sudden I'm out of it, but let me just, Mason Rudolph. If Mason Rudolph's the quarterback, Ridley's points go up. So that's not necessarily a good thing. Hey, Diggs, by the way, what's up with you, buddy? Okay, so Worthy, I don't think is very consistent, and he can put up good enough numbers on a week in, week out basis. Waddle did not put up good numbers last week. Now, he might this week. There's a little bit of a gamble there. Obviously, Tua's playing, so that helps out all of the receivers for Miami. Now, Ridley's only good if Mason Rudolph is the quarterback. So if Rudolph is the quarterback, you should probably start him. Now, the thing with Rico is, and let me just look this up because I heard this earlier in the week, and I don't want to be spreading things that might not be true. But from what I hear, Rico Dowdle is like the confirmed number one against the Falcons. Let me just see. For some reason, I cannot see tonight. What? Oh, this hasn't been updated since Wednesday. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. This is stupid. From what I understand, from what they were saying, Dowdle will probably most likely be the number one running back for the Cowboys or get the most carries. I don't have any information since Wednesday for whatever reason, which annoys the what out of me. But I would say that read up on Dowdle a little bit. I'm going to be live tomorrow around 11 a.m. Eastern time. No, wait. Is that right? No. Yeah, I guess it is 11 or 12 Eastern time. You might want to catch that or check his, just read something about him, because if he's the number one, he's a good option. They got away from him for a while. Let me look up Stevenson. I haven't looked him up in a while, and I'll be going back to TikTok after this, but let me look up Stevenson while I have everybody on the line. Stevenson did have 22 points last week against the Jets. Let me just see what it says. Yeah, I mean, I guess right now, out of all those people, Stevenson might be your best bet at going against Tennessee. Tennessee is a pretty good defense, but I don't think that he can't run on them. Let me just look at rushing defense. I know the Titans do have a good defense, but they're 12. So I would go with Stevenson right now. I think he's the best bet, Orange, if you're still around on YouTube. I think he might be your best bet. So, all right, let's see what is going on over here. In on TikTok and YouTube. Hey, Ron. Hey, Ron. Keon Coleman or Calvin Ridley? Did I answer that one already? I would go with Keon Coleman. I think I answered that one to a certain extent. Oh, you're welcome, Orange. Thank you. Don't forget to hit that follow on TikTok and the likes on both TikTok and YouTube. Love to get those likes. Oh, and Diggs BTW is actually on Twitch, so we don't get a lot of Twitch people. So glad to have you join us on that. Anyway, so that's just kind of what I'm thinking about as of right now. Tyrone Tracy or DeAndre Swift? Well, DeAndre goes up against, Washington. I'm actually remembering tonight. Wow, I can't believe it. Or no, they go up against the Cardinals. See, I didn't remember it right. So DeAndre goes up against the Cardinals. And the Giants, because he did clear protocol, I looked it up earlier, they go up against Washington. Cardinals and Commanders on rush defense. Cardinals or Commanders? Cardinals are 26th. Commanders are 25th. The only reason why I would, well, the biggest reason, okay, so they're pretty equal, the defenses that they're up against. One's 20, one's 26, one's 25. Okay, so there, I mean, there's literally not even a point between them. But I would say that what you're looking at right now is the fact that Swift is more consistent and at a higher rate or score. Let me just look this up real quick. I mean, Swift has had, going backwards, 18.9, 19.9, 1900, 26, which it doesn't get more consistent than that. And those are numbers that you want in any league, especially a 10-team league, which most of you are probably in. Thank you, Chase, for the compliment about the lives I put out. If you guys can share this, for some reason today, my numbers across the board on TikTok and YouTube are hello, Ohio Cannabiscape. Thanks for joining. My numbers today are really down. I don't know what the heck's going on. It's kind of throwing me off because right now it says I have 3 people on TikTok, and it never gets that low. So I'm thinking, like, did something happen, or did I get some sort of strike against me or something like that? All right. So I was looking up DeAndre Swift, and who was the other guy? I'm sorry. I'm actually really thinking about why my numbers are so low. It's bugging the you-know-what out of me. Okay, Tyrone Tracy, he's healthy. He had 22 points, 4, 19, 13. They go up against Washington. I guess what I'm saying is DeAndre Swift has been, for the last 4 weeks, he's gotten well over 13 points all 4 weeks. So that's why I would start him. With Tyrone Tracy, he's been good. He's gotten 13, 19, 4.7, and 22. So there's nothing wrong with him. I do worry about the 4 points. I guess it was because they lost 28-3. Now they could get down against Washington. Washington has a much better record than they do. So they could be down by a lot. I mean, as a matter of fact, Washington's 6-2. The Giants are 2-6. So they could be down. It could be another blowout, and they might not use Tyrone Tracy. That would be, I mean, I'm kind of stretching here. They both put up good numbers, and I'm trying to give you sort of an insight as to what I'm thinking. So that's why I would go with Swift, because he's a little bit more consistent, and and they're probably going to be a little bit more competitive. There's a chance the Giants get blown out. Daniels does not look like a very good quarterback at this point. Okay, Dylan asks, is running back or is wide receiver or running back better? I got Hill, Evans. Well, if you got Evans, he's not playing right now. Tyreek Hill, McConkey, and Myers. Running back Mixon, Pacheco, Ramondre, and Dottle. Well, I always like running backs because they don't have to rely on catching the ball. So oftentimes a running back, like if you look in your league, if you go and you see like all available players, or even if you go to all players in your league, oftentimes if you look at their point total, a lot of times I look at like the last 4 weeks. Other people look at the whole season, but I usually look at the last 4 weeks because it shows me like Alvin Kamara started the season really great. He had 43 points week 2, but his numbers recently, while they've been good, they haven't been as good as like the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. So it gives you a snapshot as to how good or how bad he is momentum wise moving forward. So I would say, well, first of all, you're asking who your running backs, I think, are better. Myers, McConkey can put up good numbers. He did it against the Chiefs. The bad thing about Ladd is the fact that he'll also put up 6 points. Myers has had, I think, last week a good number of points. He's been inconsistent, and they have a really bad offense, as you all pretty much know, in Vegas. And Minshew is not a great quarterback. Tyreek Hill is great as long as Tua is the quarterback. And the only thing that scares me about Tua is he's one hit away from probably, being injured again, because once you start getting concussions, it's easier to get concussions. And Evans is injured, and that's, so that throws you off. But so right now with Mixon, Ramondre, and even Dottle, I think you have a better mix there of healthy people that are. Mixon is very consistent. Ramondre is putting up some good numbers now, a tad inconsistent, but I think Dottle will be consistent with the Cowboys. The only thing I hate about Dottle right now is the fact that the Cowboys won't come out and say that he's their number one running back. And, they're saying he's going to share time and all these other things. And I think overall that really hurts him. So that's the one thing that bothers me about Dottle. I think he could put up more points. I think they just have to give him the ball a little bit more. All right. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to follow. Let's see. With that said, who should I try to get for wide receiver? Well, you could theoretically, when Pacheco comes back and maybe give him a game or something, I would try to keep Mixon. I mean, you're not that deep in talent. Maybe if Dottle, you could do something like, if Pacheco comes back, maybe you either move Pacheco or Ramondre, or maybe you do Pacheco and Evans if he comes back, or like McConkey maybe in Pacheco, or McConkey and Ramondre, and then that way you have Mixon, Pacheco, and Dottle, and you can trade Ramondre and McConkey for, if Nico Collins comes back and he's putting up good numbers, if Puka's putting up good numbers, those are all the kinds of people you can go after then, from my vantage point anyway. So I think that would work for you. Berto, hey, Berto, glad to have you on board. Should I start Cedric Tillman or Khalil Shakir on flex? I kind of like the Cedric Tillman thing, and they play the Chargers. Now, the Chargers pass defense, I think, let's see. That was rushing defense. Chargers are number 9. And Buffalo plays Miami. The Dolphins are 4. So really, I mean, the better matchup is against the Chargers with Tillman. And I think because Tillman is the number one option and Khalil Shakir isn't necessarily the number one option, and technically speaking, even Keon Coleman has more points over the last 2 weeks than Khalil Shakir. So that might be something that you want to think about. So I'm leaning towards Tillman. He's the number one guy for Jameis Winston. He had a great week. They're not playing a great team. I mean, the Chargers are good, but they're not great. And I could see Cleveland actually winning this game because they can get Chubb going on the ground. They can pass to Tillman, and they're going to be able to move the ball. While Shakir, the one thing in the back of my head is this the week that Amari Cooper gets some more points? Or is this, or is Keon Coleman going to keep up? Keon Coleman and Shakir have both been doing good the last 2 weeks. Keon just a little bit more, like 4 points more, but but I say all that because eventually Amari's going to have the week like he had 2 weeks ago, and it'll probably take away points from Khalil and Keon. All right, Ramondre. Well, let's see here. Do we have any questions on YouTube? No. CeeDee Lamb for DeAndre Swift and Brian Thomas. Well, Chase, if you're getting Swift and Brian Thomas, I would do that deal. I think it's a good deal. If you look at CeeDee's numbers, they're good, but they're not great. And Brian Thomas is putting up pretty good numbers, maybe a little less inconsistent than CD, but still good. And DeAndre, like I said, I don't expect him to constantly put up 18 or more points every week, but he's done it the last 4 weeks. Oh, you're trading away CD. Yeah, if you're getting DeAndre and Brian Thomas, that's the better end of that deal. So yeah, I would do that. Thomas, let's just, for the sake of argument here, let's just look at Thomas and let's look up Thomas. Yeah, Thomas has had, my eyes are not working, 19 and 13 points the last 2 weeks. He had 4 3 weeks ago, but that was a real tough game against Chicago. Then he had 20, then he had 18. So 4 of the last 5 weeks, he's had over that 13-point mark, and that's what you want in a 10-team fantasy league. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think you're losing that much by putting Brian Thomas as a wide receiver. Now, he is questionable. So in the short term, I guess he has a chest injury. So you'll have to, if you make the trade and you get them in time, you'll have to make sure that he's able to go. I can't promise you that he will be. Yeah, he's probably not going to play this week. That's the way it looks. Should I start Tyrone Tracy or Cedric Tillman? Well, as I said, the Giants play Washington. I think Tracy can have a good game. He had his, thank you, Chase, for all your questions. Dylan joined. Hey, Dylan, thanks for joining. So, Berto, I would say that I always lean towards a running back over a wide receiver just because it's easier for them to kind of get the ball. They don't have to worry about a good pass and necessarily the defense getting in the way, those kinds of things. But let me just double check both of these guys. We got a little bit of time. We don't have lots of people waiting or anything. So we're on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. So let me just look at Tracy. Yeah, so Tracy had 22 points, 4.7, 19, and 13. So 3 of the last 4 weeks, he's gotten over that 13-point mark, which is what you want in a 10-team league. So there's nothing wrong with that. I would say that his body of work might be a little bit better. He might be a little steadier. With Tillman, it might be a little bit more of a gamble, but there could be possibly a little bit more upside because he had 25 points last week is kind of what I'm saying. He's the go-to guy for Jameis Winston, so that's a wonderful thing. So if you want to gamble and you don't mind risk, I would go with Tillman. If you want something maybe a little bit steadier, I would go with Tracy. I think he'll have a good week. He might just put up 14 points, but that's enough to help you win for the week. So, all right, guys, let's see. I am, I don't know what it is, but everything's slow tonight. I was on earlier. The numbers were low and they're low again. So I'm going to end the streams. I know you guys are watching. And I appreciate that. I'll be back on maybe a little bit later, but let me just make sure everything's working right and stuff, because I guess my numbers on YouTube are about where they usually are. Hey, Uncle Ted, what's up? But on TikTok, they're way down. So I don't know what's going on. I know that there was one time my numbers went down because TikTok thought that I was using someone else's information on the live stream. So I'll have to double check into that. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it.